Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome you to the regular meeting of Freeport City Council this Monday, March 18th, 2024 at 6 p.m. I will declare that there is a quorum present, that all of the notices have been legally posted pursuant to the Open Meeting Act, and will call this meeting to order. At this time, if you will please rise, and Councilman Rosso, if you will lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance, sir.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you once again for giving us this opportunity to come together to make some important decisions. Pray, Lord, that you would word our mouths, word our hearts, that we may be pleasing in your sight. We ask you to bless the city of Freeport, bless the council, bless all the participants here tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time in our meeting, we have opportunity for citizens to speak, and the first one will be Anna Silbus, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Anna Silbus, Main Street Coordinator. I am here tonight on behalf of the Freeport Historical Commission and Main Street Advisory Board, just to give another reminder that we are going to be having a community visioning session next Tuesday, March 26th at Freeport River Place. It's going to take place from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Light refreshments will be served. This is in preparation to prepare our downtown comprehensive plan and historic design guidelines. The topics of exploration will include historic preservation, public realm, economic revitalization, programming, and housing as well. So this is in conjunction with the Freeport Economic Development Corporation, as well as with the city of Freeport. So thank you all just for helping us to move this initiative forward, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you, ma'am. The next person is Mrs. Becky McDonald.
Hello, I am Becky McDonald. I live at 922 West 5th Street. I live directly across the street from the church and catty corner to the raid house that happened on the 22nd with the SWAT raid. My question tonight is, the pastor told me he has put the eviction in to have the renters evicted. It is the church's house. They own it. There are still multiple people in that house. He told me he cut the water off. So if there's that many people living in that house with no water, is that not an issue that the city should address?
Okay.
There's at least 10 to 15 people in that house every day. I work from home, so I see it all day. Okay, the next issue with this is, I don't know how many police officers that we have here in Freeport. I only moved here a year ago in July, but West 5th Street is like a free-for-all. Our street has the regular 30, 35 miles per hour, but it's race day, race night. I have neighbors, all have children around us. We have no police presence on our street except that day, and it's been 3 weeks. This Thursday, since that happened, there's been one police car on our street that I've seen. Now, it's not to say I've been there every day and then I spied it, but I'm just saying, if the presence could be done, that would help tremendously by cutting that trouble down that we have until they are evicted. And do you know how long an eviction takes place? He told me he went to court on the 11th, which was just a week ago today. Do you have any idea how long that eviction until it is enforced?
We're not supposed to reply to citizen
okay.
comments, but
No,
but if you'll stick around, I'll address that in
Okay.
the comment section.
Okay.
Because there is a legal time frame that they have to be evicted and so forth. But what was the address again, please, ma'am?
Mine is.
No, do you know
I
the?
want to say it's It's directly next to the church. It's either 919 or 929 West 5th.
Okay.
But it's where the raid happened on 2/22 with the SWAT and every other agency at 12 p.m.
Very good. We'll
Okay.
get on it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank y'all.
Yes, ma'am. Mrs. Nicole Morellis.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Nicole Mireles, 2002 North Avenue,
Good evening.
IG. And I told my council representative I was going to be nice with my comments. All I'm asking is not heavy haul trash all over my neighborhood, all of the streets over there on Avenue C, where I mean on Avenue C, on Avenue G and H and all that area over there, you know. The large hauls have not been picked up. My front, I know I got a lot of weeds. I'm working with my weeds as far as fertilizing my yard and not take pride in my yard, but where I put some stuff out there, the grass is already, it's killed my grass. So I don't know, I've lost when, every what, I don't even know what day they're supposed to come of the month or not. I know we're getting ready to have that citywide thing, but I'm old to pick up all that crap. I already picked it up once and put it on the side of my, on the curb. But anyway, if y'all could look into that and see what's going on or with those folks, I sure would appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Was I nice?
You were more than nice. The next person up is Mrs. Diane McLeister.
I have some paperwork to give you, if it's okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Diane McLeister, 97 Dolphin. My presentation has a lot of tax code numbers, but I think it helps the presentation to bring out the facts. I think the city's losing quite a bit of money from not doing hot tax. Hot tax can be beneficial to the city of Freeport. The tax can be used for multiple projects in coastal cities. Freeport is a coastal municipality. The state tax code 351001, Chapter A, Section 3A, home rule municipalities that border on the Gulf of Mexico and have a population of 80,000 can collect so much money, and depending on the percentage of tax collected, that it can be used for beach maintenance, lifeguards, golf courses, and parks. There's a new bill in the House 550 that within a mile of a hotel, it could be used for sewage, drainage, and other things. It's still sitting in the House. Cities under 35,000 can collect hot tax on their extraterritorial jurisdiction, 3510025, but it can exceed 15% combined between the state and the city. Treasure Isle is an ETG of Freeport and has over 100 short-term rentals. Freeport is looking at possibly $100,000 to $200,000 on these short-term rentals. Freeport Hotel Occupancy Tax Ordinance Section 2354. The words, terms, and phrases under this section define the VTCA, the Vernon Tax Code, 351-103, or as may later be defined in the statutes. It says may be defined in other statutes. Tax Code 156001, Texas Code, the definition states, in this chapter, hotel means a building which members of the public obtaining sleeping accommodations, considerations. The terms include hotel, motel, tourist home, tourist house, tourist court, tourist lodging house, inn, rooming house, and bed and breakfast. But September 1st, 2015, Section B was added to House Bill 1905. For the purpose of this imposition, A hotel occupancy tax under this chapter 351 and 352 or other law includes short-term rental. In the section, short-term rental means rental of all or part of a residential property to a person who is not a permanent resident. Airbnb and Vrbo hosts can go into their accounts and check their transaction history to find out how much they owe the city. Hot tax is not a tax for residents. It's not a tax on their owners. It's a tourist tax. A host collects the tax and remits those funds to the city or state. So if a host pays state tax, they owe the city of Freeport hotel tax. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. David, will you look into that, please, sir? Yes, sir. All right. Next person is Mr. Sam Reyna.
Mayor, Council, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Sam Reyna, and I reside in 2002 North Avenue G. Minutes from the last council meeting. Item 11 on the agenda, discussion and clarification pertaining to candidate application for May 4, 2024 election. 2 council members sent our city manager a text to place that item on the agenda, but it was not transcribed that way. The text read, discussion and possible action, not discussion and clarification. Our city manager modified the item without notifying the 2 council members. When confronted about the modification, he said he was following the advice of our city attorney, who depends on the opinion of the Attorney General and not the law. Minutes from the last meeting. Councilman Peña asked interim City Attorney David Olson if anything and everything Mr. Reyna had just described changes his legal opinion. Interim City Attorney David Olson said no. Councilman Peña asked any particular reason why. Interim City Attorney David Olson said he had Paige Bailey on his office jeopardize this Attorney General's opinion to see if there was any court of appeals decision that would overturn, and there is not. If you go to page 5 on that I just gave you, it reads the ambiguity of the current wording. That wording means that released from the resulting disabilities, held up a Houston City Council election for over a year. Till the 3rd Court of Appeals. That's why I mentioned the 3rd Court of Appeals last time, Mayor, because this is what I had read it from here. For over a year. Cynthia Bailey prevailed in the lawsuit when the Texas 1st Court of Appeals, and that's the Court of Appeals I'm talking about, that you didn't have no knowledge about, allowed her to remain on the ballot, okay? In the opinion issued, Chief Justice Sherry Reddick and Justice Russell Lloyd and Julie Contis said Renee Jefferson Smith, who placed third in the November the 5th, 2019 general election and contested Bailey's eligibility, did not prove to the Houston Mayor's office that Bailey was ineligible. She was eligible. That's what the 1st Court of Appeals ruled. She was eligible. She was put back on the ballot. Okay? Now, and so Mr. David Olson has also said that that he does not know what list, and he does not work on lists or articles from news reports. He works on case law. Have you got any case laws that would give a clarification of release from the resulting disabilities? The courts have not been able to do it. Discussion and clarification, that's really an insult to my intelligence. You know, I'm not an attorney, but I have worked for some real good attorneys. I worked for Jerry Push for a long time. Got him some of his best cases. The chemical spills in the water wells in El Campo, BP oil spills in the Gulf, worked from Brownsville all the way to Mississippi, worked for Russell Eddington, doing the same thing. The Jones Act work, shrimp boats. There was a lot of accidents back in the days. Then I worked for John O'Quinn. I worked for him, Jones Act, and maritime law. I was a licensed pilot for Astro Marines out of Houston. Worked out of Galveston, taking crew members to the first platform when they first started drilling for oil in the Gulf. They get hurt, I'll go over there and pick them up. When I brought them ashore, I make sure that they had an attorney's card in their pocket. And I've done a lot of paralegal work for O'Quinn. He was hard, that's why I quit working for him. He hollered too much. But he paid good and cash, no money trail. So I'm no rookie to the law, and for you to say discussion and clarification, if you want to give me any clarification, give me clarification on Senate Bill 466. You gave me the clarification on House Bill 1316, which I went back later and researched and sure it passed the Senate and it died in the committee across the hall. Same thing happened to that 466. If you go to the last page 7, this was a bill introduced by Pat Fallon. His bill would have removed the words "or otherwise released from a resulting disabilities," the same clause that everybody's been having trouble with, essentially making it possible for convicted felons to run only if they had been pardoned. But just like 1316, he went across the hall. He passed the Senate, but he went across the hall, and it died in the committee. So we're back to square one. Release from resulting disabilities. Nobody can give a good interpretation of the clause. Okay? Now, it's too late for me to be put on the ballot. I have to file a lawsuit, but not against the chamber. State of Texas. So other citizens like myself that have completed their sentences will be eligible to, oh, by the way, Mayor, I did contact some attorneys from Eglinton, contacted Perry Stevens, and he was interested, but he says, I'm running out of time. But he recommended me with Lena Clemens, and they don't have no constitutional law or election code laws experience, so they told me that my only option would be to go to Houston. And I talked to Sam Lee, he told me the same thing. So I contacted attorneys in Houston and all the way to San Antonio. Whew, man, I can't afford them. They were expensive. I went ahead and filed a lawsuit on my own. Like I said, you know, I'm not an attorney, but I know the law. And I think I've done a pretty good job. All I have to do is just type it up, take it to an attorney, let him proofread it, cross all my T's on my I's and file it. So this won't happen again to other citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Stumbaugh, Keith Stumbaugh.
Good evening, Mayor Bass,
Good evening,
Mr.
sir.
Petty, and City Council members. I am Keith Stumbaugh, and I am the spokesperson for the concerned citizens of Freeport. In every election year since 2015, the CCF has hosted candidate forums that provide an opportunity for the candidates running for city office to publicly express their positions on various issues facing Freeport and its citizens. The CCF hosts these candidate forums as a public service to the voting citizens of Freeport so they can learn more about the candidates who, if elected, will be making decisions affecting them. We believe that informed voters make for better city government. This year's forum will be held on Saturday, April 6th at the First United Methodist Church Fellowship Hall at 1600 West Broad at 10 o'clock in the morning. This year, in addition to the city candidates, the 2 runoff candidates for County Commissioner Precinct 1 will also be invited to participate. Invitation letters to the candidates were mailed today, and we hope that all the candidates can participate in this year's forum. As always, the public is invited, and light refreshments will be served. The CCF anticipates a successful and productive event. Thank you, Mayor Bass, City Council members, for your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll get into regular session, and we have item number 1, presentation by Texas Police Chief Association for the Freeport Police Department. Chief Howell.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I have a representative from the Texas Police Chiefs Association, so I'll have them come up now.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, and members of the Freeport community. My name is Cristela Rodriguez, and I am the Chief of Police for Bay City Police Department. I am here on behalf of the Texas Chiefs Police Association to present an accreditation certification. Several years ago, the Texas Police Chiefs Association developed an accredited program for Texas law enforcement. It is a program of professional excellence and requires proof of compliance with a set of professional standards. It is a voluntary program where agencies must prove they meet and exceed 173 difficult standards. The standards are based on Texas law, Texas court decisions, and contemporary best practices as identified by the Texas Police Chiefs Association. These standards, to name a few, cover use of force, protection of citizen rights, vehicle pursuits, property and evidence management, patrol and investigations, and so on. This program has become the new gold standard for professional law enforcement in Texas, and agencies across the state are working diligently to meet these requirements. Approximately 12 years ago, the Freeport Police Department first attained their accreditation status with the Texas Police Chiefs Association, and it was not easy to do. The agency had to conduct a complete audit of all its policies, procedures, and operations in order to meet these standards. Since that time, the agency has submitted annual reports that were reviewed to ensure that they have continued to meet these standards and continue to provide the citizens of Freeport with effective police service. In January of this year, trained assessors from the police chiefs and commanding officers of the association from all over the state spent 2 days conducting another assessment of Freeport Police Department. These assessors interviewed staff, they inspected facilities and operations, and they even met with field officers to ensure compliance with all these standards. The report was sent in to the accreditation committee, comprised of 9 active police chiefs from around the state who review the report and vote to award accreditation status. That vote was unanimous. During this process, the Freeport Police Department has once again proven that it meets or exceeds the best practices for professionalism in law enforcement in the state of Texas. Of over 2,800 law enforcement agencies in Texas, only 205 agencies have achieved this accreditation. This evening, we officially recognize Freeport Police Department for their outstanding performance. What does this mean to your community? The accreditation program assures both city management and the citizens of Freeport that their police department is operating in a manner that reflects the current best practices of Texas law enforcement. It means your police department is continually striving for professional excellence. It means your police department is one of the very best in the state. The certificate we present this evening is symbolic. While it is clearly the mark of professional excellence, the real value of the program is a process that has to be completed to receive this certificate. And once again, this is not the end of the process. The department will continue to submit annual reports to ensure continued compliance. And in 4 years, we'll be back again for on-site inspections to ensure that the agency is continuing to comply with all the standards
The Freeport Police Department is a leader in law enforcement in Texas. You should be very proud of your department. Chief Howell, will you please come forward to accept congratulations for your team and your excellent work?
I'm also requesting that Corporal Joey Earl come up here as well. He was the program manager when I came on last year to finding out that we had some catching up to do. One of the things was we didn't have a program manager anymore, and Corporal Earl and everything definitely raised to the task on that, and so this would not have been possible without his assistance as well.
The Texas Police Chiefs Association Foundation, to all who see this certificate, know that the Freeport Police Department has fulfilled the necessary qualifications and mandatory requirements of the Texas Police Chiefs Association. Congratulations.
Chief? Chief, did you say you were from Bay City, Texas? I need to tell you about the Bay City Black Cats. I hate the Bay City Black Cats with a passion, Chief. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No. Well, they do now. Yeah, but they didn't back then. Thank you, Chief. Congratulations. Very proud of y'all. Item number 2, presentation by Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott LLP regarding collections. You know, I think I'm going to wait to the last.
I didn't hear you, Mayor. What was that? It's
Go
good
ahead,
that
sir.
I get to follow good news. So
Yeah, well,
I'll give you
there
some
you
more
go.
good news in terms of collections. Mike Darlow with Purdue Brandon, thank you for having us tonight. I want to introduce Hayden Bartley, an associate with my firm that has the pleasure, or maybe not so much the pleasure, of working with me down in Brazoria County collecting your taxes. And so I wanted him to come and get to meet some people tonight and get a sense of what it is that we do for you.
Sure. Thank you.
As
Nice
you
to
know,
see you.
Each year, we do a lot of things to collect your delinquent taxes and your court fines and fees, and I'll give you a quick update and then answer any questions that you may have. So I've provided you with the normal pie charts and graphs. When we prepared this report for you just a couple of weeks ago, there was $166,877 of unpaid base taxes to the city, up to and including the 2022 tax year. We won't work on your 23s until a little later this spring and in the summer. Since we prepared this report for you, we got another update over the weekend, and now we're down to $158,470. So collected a little over $8,000 in just the last couple of weeks. The graph that I've got for you that breaks down your taxes, I'll just point out a couple of the categories that are of interest. One is the deferrals. You've got 16% of your delinquent roll that involve people that are over 65. It's their homestead. They've deferred the payment of their taxes, so we don't contact them or reach out to them. When situations change, and recently we had a situation that somebody that had a deferral passed away, we're now dealing with the heirs, and we're hopeful that they'll be able to pay it. If not, we'll ultimately look to file a lawsuit to collect those taxes. But once that deferral's in place, they don't hear from us at all. Another category is our litigation. When the activity to collect taxes doesn't work, the letters, the phone calls, payment agreements that don't work, we do have to file suit. And in that process, a lot of times people come forward and then want to pay. And so we'll do payment agreements when it's in litigation. Right now, we've got cases set to go to court again in May. We just had a docket in February. And for those of you that participate and receive our notices of tax sales, we've had sales each month this year. In the month of February, we had a property in Freeport that sold for more than the taxes that were owed. And then we had another one that was scheduled for this coming April, that the person that owns it has already reached out, made an agreement, and we've been able to cancel that from the tax sale that's set to go on April 2nd. So sometimes we have to take that activity, but more times than not, we're able to get the taxes paid. The last category I'll point out to you is our action pending, which represents almost half of your roll. So these are the categories that we're trying to get people to voluntarily pay. The largest account that owes you money in this category owes you roughly $1,400 of base tax, and that represents 2 delinquent tax years for 21 and 22. I point that out so that you know that there's not a singularly large account just sitting out there that's not being worked. We work aggressively to get the taxes paid to you, and if we can't collect them here, then we'll do those other activities I mentioned a moment ago. Skipping ahead, I'll take you to the third chart, which is our breakdown by tax year. As you can see, the largest single year is 2022. It's the one we started working back in July of 23. And then you can see the years prior to that, 21 and 20 and so on, the dollar amounts and the percentage that they represent to the total that's owed to the city. Moving on, I've given you historical collections from the 2017 year forward, and I can go back to any one of those that you may have a question on, but in the essence of time, let me take you to the 2021 percentage of collection report. So in July of 2022, all of your taxes for the 21 year were paid except for $148,000. From July 1 of 22 through June of 23, we collected 70% of that $148,000. And then through February of this year, we're just a little shy of 80% collected. So good, strong collections of the money that remains, representing just a small percentage of the base that you levied in that year. And then moving on to the 2022 year, which we started back in July, you'll note there was turned over to us $199,082 to collect, up slightly from the year before. And through February of this year, we've already collected 58% of that money. So we're on track to have another good, solid collection season for you. Before I go on to the fine and fee portion of my report, Mayor, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you or council may have for us.
None from me. Thank you.
So moving on, I'll give you a quick update on our court fines and fees. So if you happen to have been one of 470 people that have an outstanding ticket with the city, you would have gotten this yellow postcard in the last couple of weeks telling you about a case resolution opportunity. In the past, the state coordinated a whole, what they called warrant resolution program, where during a week period during March, they would have situations around the state where people could come in and try to resolve their matter without fear of getting arrested. It's sort of gone by the wayside. Different cities are doing different things, but for the cities that we work for and the counties that we collect for, we still aggregate and try to do this case resolution as another way to reach out to people that owe you money. So firm-wide, we mailed out almost 500,000 of these postcards in the month of late February. And the city, although you were moving at the time when these went out, have gotten a fair amount of activity off of these cards. And we're hopeful that ultimately they're going to end up resolving many cases that are outstanding to the city. So I've provided you a breakdown of the amount of money that's been turned over to us historically. And you can see in the columns of how much has been paid to us in cash payment, how much has been dismissed by the courts over time, and the total resolution that represents percentage-wise. And then you can also see we've mailed out almost 60,000 notices for the city over the years that we've represented you. And we've corrected over 10,000 addresses and had thousands of phone number changes and phone contacts with people. And then finally, I've given you 3 different maps. And the one that's of most import, I think, and the one that really gives you a sense of the challenge that not only your police department has, but police departments around the state, as well as us as your collection representative, is a map of the United States. And you can see that there are people from all over the country that have made their way through Freeport, gotten a ticket, and it's still unresolved. And where's the chief? Did the chief leave? There she is. The chief would acknowledge that the biggest challenge is getting a good address from somebody. When they stop somebody, under the law, if you're following the law and you've moved, you've gone to DPS and you've gotten a new driver's license. So if you happen to get stopped for a ticket and you hand that over to the police, they then have good information to send you the notice so you could appear in court and try to resolve your ticket. Well, because, and I know this doesn't really come as a shock to people, not everybody goes and takes care of their business and gets their driver's license fixed. When that information is given to the police department, it goes into the system at your municipal court, and they send out their notice, they're already behind because they don't have good information. And then that ultimately comes to us. And then we do a tremendous amount of address research. We have 2 different companies that we contract with to do our research to try to get us better addresses. And then we do the reach out. So as you can see, there's a lot of people that owe you money, and the trick is to try to get them to come in and take care of their business, deal with the court. On all the services that we provide for you, whether it's the court fine and fee or the delinquent tax, the city does not pay Purdue Brandon anything. Our fees are added on by law to the person that owes you the money. So however many phone calls we make, however long it takes us to resolve a lawsuit, how many notices we send out, whether it's a yellow card or a mail out, doesn't cost the city anything for our services. We're solely compensated by the people that owe the money as if and when we're paid. So as you can imagine, we're relatively motivated to try to get this resolved for you. So with that, Mayor, I'd be happy to answer any questions or provide any other information y'all would like tonight.
Ms. Darlow, your reports are efficient and well done, and I see no need to ask you any further questions. They're very self-explanatory. Counsel, do you have any questions? If not, is it Mr. Bartley? Yes, sir. Would you please approach the mic, sir?
Yes, sir.
It's my understanding you graduated from the law school owned by Texas A&M University?
Yes, sir. I was the first class there, so.
All right. Do you remember a Patton Ritter?
I served with Patton Ritter on the SBA board,
All right.
which is like student government.
Will you turn around and look up at the camera and wave to him?
Yeah.
Because he's looking at you and he'll get a kick out of that.
Perfect.
Gig'em, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
I always wanted Texas A&M to buy South Texas College of Law so I could have my with A&M, but the T-SIPs put a kibosh on that until later on. But anyway, good luck, young man.
Thank you.
Look forward to see you here at some of the meetings.
Yes, sir.
Mike's
Happy
getting a
to be
little old, so take care. Bye-bye. Thank you. Appreciate you, Mike. Be safe going back. Yeah, Mike's, he's a good guy. All right, so we have the consent agenda, items 3 and 4. Number 3 is consideration possible action on the approval of city council meeting minutes from March 4th, 2024. And number 4 is consideration of possible action by city council approving the sale of trust property located in the 400 block of North Avenue F. I'm going to ask number 4 be moved into the regular session, so I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 3.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve item number 3.
Thank you, Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
We have a second from Councilman Kane. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carried unanimously 4-0. Council business regular session will take up number 4, consideration and possible action by City Council approving the sale of trust property located in the 400 block of North Avenue F, Velasco Town Site, Block 571, Lot 4. My concern or my idea of bringing it out of consent agenda to the regular session is this is action that's not approved by the administration. Is that correct, Mr. Petty?
Correct.
And can you tell us why, sir?
Well, we was contacted by Brazoria County Tax Office. This gentleman made an offer on the property for $3,280. The land value right now is $11,720. And this is a 25-foot lot, and the gentleman doesn't own the properties next to it, so he wouldn't be able to develop this lot into a residential home without owning the adjoining property. So at this time, staff wasn't comfortable with approving this as presented.
All right, well, in that particular case, I'll make a motion to deny the sale of the trust property at this time located in the 400 block of North Avenue F. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
We have a second from Councilman Matamoros. Any further discussion needed? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried unanimously 4-0. Thank you. Item number 5, consideration of possible action, approval ordinance number 2024-2725 regarding Sydney City ordinance curfews and what to do about our juveniles.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. It's really not our decision anymore because legislation has decided to take that away from the cities, so there could no longer be the ordinance setting up the juvenile curfew. So I had gotten with Mr. Olson, so that way we could file to have this removed from our ordinance.
Pretty straightforward. Once again, the legislature, I thought Republicans were supposed to be less governmental interference, but they sure are interfering in a lot of local government stuff.
They must have some really good kids.
They must have some really good kids. All right, well, with that, I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2024-2725 regarding the city ordinance curfew, which will remove the provision concerning juvenile, regulating the curfew of 18-year-olds and younger, I believe, or 17-year-olds. Well, it's 18, but. All right, so do I have a second?
I'll second it, Mayor.
We have a second from Councilman Kane. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And once again, congratulations on your honor. It's very important. Item number 6, consideration and possible action approving ordinance number 2024-2726 for possible revision of ordinance 2019-2567 establishing the city's ethics policy for all elected and appointed city officials and all city employees. Mrs. Fisher and Mr. Petty.
Yes, the ethics ordinance is to be reaffirmed every year. The ordinance that I brought to you 6 weeks ago or so, I have taken back to the 2019 original language. The only exception to that is the addition of the ethics training session. So this is basically, with the exception of the section on training, the original ordinance that y'all have been approving every year since 2019.
All right, with that, I'll make a motion that we approve the ordinance number 2024-2726 for possible revision of ordinance number 2019-2567 establishing the city's ethics policies for all elected and appointed city officials and all city employees. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a second from Councilman Rosso. Is there discussion on this matter?
Yes, I do have a question
Please.
for Ms. Fisher. Why are we going back to this ordinance and not with the previous one? Because I've done some research. City of Sugar Land's ordinance has more teeth. It stood up to a court challenge and
In
has
order
been.
to get this reaffirmed, I pretty much took it back to the 2019 language. We can look at amending it some more, but at least we are getting the training section in. So, yeah.
Okay.
The way that it was presented 6 weeks ago, it was not going to make it through, so.
Okay.
Good question, George. Any other questions? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried unanimously 4-0. Item number 7, consideration and possible action approving resolution number 2024-2726 establishing, for possible revision of ordinance 2019-2567 establishing, I'm still doing that wrong. Item number 7, let me start over, folks. Consideration of possible action approving resolution number 2024-2849, thank you, for annual reaffirmation of ordinance number 2024-2726, establishing the city's ethics policy for all elected and appointed city officials and all city employees. So having just voted for that one, you're coming back and looking for reaffirmation to, yes, ma'am. With that, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second your motion.
Thank you, Councilman Matamoros. Is there any further discussion or questions on this? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Fisher. We got it done. Item number 8, consideration of possible action approving resolution number 2024-2850, appointing a member to the Freeport Economic Development Board. Mr. Petty.
Yes, sir. Currently, the Economic Development Corporation has a vacancy due to the resignation of Councilman Matamoros, whose term is due to expire in May 31st, 2024. This appointment would be to fill out the remainder of this term and would be up for consideration and reappointment to a new 2-year term at that time. At the time this memo was prepared, the city received applications from Ms. Melanie Oldham, Mr. Ronnie Martin, and Ms. Carla Clark, and we also received another application from Ms. Michelle Moreno. The EDC is the most active board in Freeport, appointed by the City Council. Current membership on the board includes Mr. Josh Mitchell, Ms. Sandra Loaiza, Mr. Mark Parker, Ms. Shonda Marshall, Mr. David McGinty, and Mr. Kenneth Tyner. So tonight we have those 3 candidates for y'all to choose from.
Have 4.
4.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Is Melanie Oldham in the audience tonight?
She could not make it tonight, Mayor.
All right. Ronnie Martin? Yep. Would you like to come up and just give it a little 30-second?
30 seconds.
You can't do anything in 30 seconds.
I'm old, it takes me longer.
Yeah.
Mayor, council, the reason I put my name in is actually I have a different perspective to bring toward Freeport, I believe. I owned a huge corporation for 12 and a half years in Los Angeles, and I know a lot of corporation owners and their head staff from my old business. The deal is I look at Freeport and what works here. Yeah, downtown Freeport, you're never going to get a giant grocery store or department store, but if you get the right business, you're going to draw people there. It has nothing to do with something huge. It has something to do with the right fix. So everybody knows Windswept, middle of nowhere. It was packed all the time. That's what I hope to bring to Freeport. I've done some research on businesses and actually brought them to the EDC to look at, because people like Waffle House is never going to come here, but Huddle House would look at us, because Huddle House looks at underserved communities. And this is exactly their market if you talk to them. And so I want to bring stuff to Freeport that'll work, that'll stay here. And I have those connections. IHOP was one of my clients. I've talked to them. So that's why I put my name up. I'm willing to give the time. I'm sorry about this, I live at 1850 West 8th Street in Freeport for 8 years now. So thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Carla Clark.
Carla Clark, 411 Sailfish. As most of you know, I've been coming to the meetings and keeping up with most of the boards. I've been to the EDC meetings. I come to almost all of the city council meetings, and I keep myself updated with the things that are going on with all the committees. I was on the planning and zoning for a short period of time to finish out a term, and I think that my background as a civil servant and also knowing the businesses here in our area would help me and help the EDC to process and be a better group and work with them. I don't know, is Ms. Ronnie still on the Main Street board, or are we going with 2 different boards? I thought he was just appointed to the Main Street board. Is that true?
I don't know.
Are you working on 2 now? Okay. So, that's allowed to go on more than one? So, yeah? Okay.
I don't see a policy against it. I'm not a big fan of it, but I don't see a policy against it. Ms. Michelle Moreno, are you here? All right. Council, we have 4 candidates, 2 that have got up and said a lot of good things. I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir.
Since it's to fulfill the rest of my term, I would like to make the motion to appoint Mr. Ronnie Martin to fulfill the remaining months of my term to the EDC.
All right, we have a motion to appoint Ronnie Martin to fulfill your remaining term, which will due to expire May 31st of 2024, which is this year. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
All right, we have a second. Mr. Martin, will you remove yourself from the Main Street Board? All right. Well, I was going to think about appointing Carla Clark to the Main Street Board. Carla just leave? Oh, all right. All right, we have a motion for Ronnie Martin, and I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried unanimously, 4-0. Thank you. Item number 9, consideration and possible action on rewarding bid for Phase 2 asbestos remediation for City Hall.
Yes, sir. Staff recommends council award bid to Inland Environments, LTD, and authorize the city manager to work with the city attorney to develop a contract with the awarded contractor based upon the plans and specifications and the bids submitted by the contractor. The city received 4 bids for Phase 2 asbestos remediation at City Hall on the first and second floors. The most responsive bid was received from Inland Environments, LTD, in the amount of $59,610. Upon award of the bid by the city council, staff will work with the city attorney to develop and execute a contract. During Phase 1 asbestos remediation, additional asbestos presence was located, and a Phase 2 abatement would be required prior to renovation. An asbestos study was performed by EnviroTest LLC, which did identify the presence of additional asbestos on floors 1 and 2. Following the completion of the survey, EnviroTest LLC, in collaboration with IED Architects, developed the specifications for the remediation efforts, which was properly advertised for bids. The consultant evaluated the bids and determined that the lowest bidder, Emmanuel Enterprises LLC, would need a rebid based off of removal methods for ceiling tiles containing asbestos. I did receive an updated bid from the lowest bidder, and when he corrected his bid, he came in third. So the lowest bidder would be Inland Environments. So Phase 2 abatement needs to be completed regardless of the path moving forward with the building to remove all the asbestos out of the building. The budget's appropriated in the Capital Improvements Fund.
All right, I'm confused. You're recommending Inland Environment, but it looks like it says due to the bidding process, staff were elected to accept the next lowest bidder, which was EnviroTest.
Well, if so, that is incorrect. EnviroTest was the lowest bidder, but they had missed some items on their bid, so they had to resubmit, and Inland was the second lowest bidder, and that's who we decided to go with.
All right, and their amount that they're requesting is $59,610.
Yes, sir.
And what was the amount that we set aside for this? Do you recall, sir?
Do you remember, Kathy?
It was more than $60,000.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was. It was $100,000.
Okay. All right. Folks have any questions for Mr. Petty on the asbestos abatement? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve the awarding of the bid to Inland Environment LTD and authorize the city manager to work with city attorney to develop a contract with the awarded contractor based upon the plans and specification and the bid submitted by the contractor. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
We have a second from Councilman Matamoros. Any further discussion? Will this remove all of the asbestos that we're aware of, sir?
Yes, sir.
Well, I threw that thing in, I said that we're aware of, so they could find more?
I don't believe that they will.
Okay. All right, well, then I will call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Clarissa, it's passed unanimously. Thank you. Item number 10 is consideration of possible action to approve resolution number 2024-2851, approving and adopting the electronic funds transfer, the EFT policy and procedures for the city of Freeport. Kathy.
The City of Freeport recognizes the use of various electronic payment methods as a safe and efficient method to process certain disbursements. The City of Freeport is committed to establishing controls and procedures to ensure the proper protocols are followed and that applicable oversight is placed in the use of EFTs. This policy will formalize the procedures that are already in place. The primary goal of this policy is to ensure that EFTs are initiated, executed, and approved securely. This policy establishes general guidelines for using EFTs, including wire transfers for payables and receivables. The procedures outline the electric fund transactions the city may engage in and accounting procedures to be followed in accordance with state and federal laws. These procedures are already in place, but we are creating the policy to ensure that it's there, but these are the procedures that we already do.
Housekeeping.
It is housekeeping. The auditors looked at our procedures for our EFTs. They said we are following all the guidelines, but they felt like housekeeping that we needed a policy that showed what we were doing so that y'all knew what we were doing for these electronic payments.
And what is the policy on electronic fund transfers?
Wires, there's a lot of different electronic fund transfers. Wires are only used for bond payments, which are required of the bond payments, or if it is something that is an emergency basis that we use a wire. We use what we call ACH payments, which is basically an electronic check. We do use those to pay our vendors. In order for a vendor to be paid via ACH, they have to complete our form that we have. They have to submit it. We verify the information that is submitted with the vendor, and then instead of issuing them a check, we send them an ACH payment via the bank. Our payroll is done via ACH as well for all those employees who have direct deposit. And when we do cut payroll this week, I send a file for all electronic ACH payments for the people who are on direct deposit. We also use ACHs for utility billing for those customers who have authorized us to take their utility payments out of the bank. So it's just, these are standard procedures at any city, but we put it into a policy.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your explanation. I will move to approve resolution number 2024-2851, adopting the electronic funds transfer EFT policy and procedure for the city of Freeport. Do I have a second?
I'll second your motion, Mayor.
All right, I have a second. All those in favor say, well, first of all, is there any further discussion needed? No, I understand. Yeah, I'm not going to sign that until we have it corrected. We're going to change the date on the ordinance, but then I'll
resolution.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. Work session, the city council may deliberate and make inquiry into any item specifically listed as a subsection under the itemized sections A through F below. Councilman Kane, Ward B.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I'd like to thank everybody that came out tonight in person and those that are watching live online. A couple things. One, we do have an election coming up, and the city of Freeport is notorious at having weak turnout. And I encourage everybody, talk to your neighbor, talk to your neighbor's neighbor, talk to whoever you see at Buc-ee's, and let's get them out to vote, okay? Because it is important for the city.
Are you saying vote early and vote often?
Vote early and vote often, just once.
Okay, all right. Just want to clarify.
Second of all, I would like to say as a community, I encourage everybody to keep our neighbors just north of us in your prayers. You know, we had a storm that come through here over the weekend, and luckily we got a little bit of rain. Unfortunately, just 25 miles north, it wasn't so. So keep our neighbors in your prayers. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Matamoros, Ward C.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to thank all the residents who attended in person or viewed online, and those residents who spoke about concerns involving their area of town. I, again, would like to congratulate our police department. Having family and law enforcement, it's a thankless job, especially when you're doing it correctly. And for our department to do it correctly and get this achievement shows that we have great leadership from the top, but all the way through every single law enforcement officer who patrols our streets or answers a phone. And so, once again, thank y'all for the hard work. Truly appreciate it. Last thing I just want to speak about is I have noticed the heavy garbage not being picked up. And so, Mr. Petty, if we can look into that. What I have noticed, the residents are doing it properly, and it's still not being picked up. So if we can just speak with AmeriWaste and look into that. That is all for myself.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Rosso, Ward D.
Yeah, I also appreciate everyone coming out today. I think we may need to revisit how we collect garbage and trees and all this. So if we want our city to look good, to me, we can't really depend on the citizens to do what they're instructed to do in order for trash and limbs and trees and things to be picked up. I've looked at other cities, and their trash and things like that are picked up, and they're not in a bundle, in a 5-6 foot bundle or 4 foot bundle with twine around them. And the reason why I say this because it's been brought to my attention that in some cases, and I've seen it, where trash and limbs and trees and debris are in the front of some of these people's houses for a long period of time. I want to say that I got a chance to go to bingo today. I don't play bingo. My wife talked me into playing bingo today. There was over 100 people there. Over 100 people playing bingo in the middle of the day. And so I guess I'm going to start going to play bingo with my wife. It's not really gambling, Clarissa, if you don't put up no money. So we don't have to put up any money, and we get to win prizes. I thought that was pretty cool. Pretty cool. Also, I still notice a lot of work going on, thanks to Lance and his heavy hand, peeling up sidewalks, digging, repairing pipes, and just moving, doing things. I'm so glad I'm retired. Makes me feel good. I remember when I used to work. That's all I got, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. If y'all would like, y'all could turn on Channel 2. I don't know if it'll be on at 10 o'clock. It was on at 5 o'clock, but your mayor was on the news. They came to ask me about the roof that blew off my building Friday evening. I got a call about 6:30 from a very excited Patton Ritter saying, you got to come, we lost our roof. Well, boy, did we ever. It was down by Dirty South, which is about a block and a half from our building. And I think it was a tornado. I don't think it was straight force winds. I think it was a tornado because my building was destroyed, or nobody else was. Now, I know you're all crying, oh, a lawyer's office is destroyed, but it does slow things down, and you know, we will do our best to overcome, and we will get to lawyering again soon. But there was a lot of damage. I do agree with Councilman Kane. It was more damage than I think folks expected. I know that there were a number of signs down, a lot of trees, a lot of fences, and in fact, there was a picture of a part of a fence that was actually blown into a roof of a house. To me, that's not straight winds. That's a tornado. But, Mrs. McDonald, you have 30 days, generally speaking, to evict somebody once you start the process and it goes through a JP. So if the pastor went to the Justice of the Peace Court, it should take 30 days from the judge signing of that order. Okay? Chief Howe, would you please put a special watch on this particular residence, because if we got some folks there illegally, they need to be removed. There you go. Very good. And then also, thank you, man. Thank you, sir. Also, if you will work on speeding down 5th Street, as well as Broad Street as well, I'd appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. My granddaddy, Paul, used to call me A.J. Foyt because I would come down Broad Street and make the corner in my Camaro on 2 wheels. And now that I'm upset with people that do that now, and I wasn't upset then, so maybe I'm a hypocrite. But last thing I'd like to say before I turn over to Lance is Sunday we lost a very fine man. His name was Randall Huffstetler. Judge Huffstetler was the presiding judge of the 300 District Court for, 24 years. 24 years of hearing nothing but family cases. Imagine his demeanor when he went home. But he passed on unexpectedly, within reason. But I just didn't want the opportunity to go by. Thank you. That he was a good man. He was a decent man. And he was one fine jurist. He was from the city of Dickinson. And we used to talk about how we could really relate to each other because I was from the city of Freeport. And the city of Dickinson is a lot like the city of Freeport in its makeup and its population and its economics. And we went to shoot behind the city of Freeport out there on port property with permission, Mr. Commissioner. And his shoe started falling apart. And I started to give him a hard time about his shoe falling apart. And he pulls out of his bag a roll of duct tape and duct tapes his shoe. And I knew right there that he had Freeport in him, because we have the can-do spirit. But I just want to say to his wife, Danette, and his children, Chris and Megan, that he will be missed, but will not be forgotten. Mr. Petty.
Yes, sir. I'd like just to let everybody know that the city of Freeport has a really, really good staff. And it was good to see that when something happened, like the storm that came through Angleton, that our staff answered the call. And that goes from our emergency management, Mr. Chief Motley, Chief Howell. Our Public Works Department got the call. We dispatched Public Works crews to Angleton. They worked, goodness, 10, 12 hours, helping aid in moving debris out of the roads and things like that. So it's very important to me and relaxing to know that if something happens in our city, the other cities will return the favor. So the cities did come together and work really good together, and I'm super proud of everybody that was part of that, and the Public Works Department as well for going out and working, and the fire department supplying chainsaws and things like that we needed. Just wanted everybody to know that, and that if Rudy wants to stand up, I know I hadn't formally introduced him, He's been here for about 6 weeks, but he is the interim Public Works Director right now, and he'll be full-time here within about 20 days, I believe it is. But he's leading the Public Works crew now. So I'm turning it over to a good guy that can handle the job. So do us good, Rudy.
You got big shoes to fill. Anything else, sir? All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do not have executive session, so at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
And I'll second it.
And there you go. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carried unanimously. Thank you. We are adjourned.